You are live.
Okay. In theory, starting a minute early. Good evening and welcome to the November 16th, 2022 Henrietta Town Board meeting. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Here.
Councilmember Page,
Here.
Councilmember Belanca.
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here.
And Joe, is your mic on?
Yes, is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
We'll begin this evening with a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before I call for the approval of the minutes, I would just like to state that Henrietta lost a great resident this weekend. Starting to get a little verklempt. Dr. Barry Culhane, was a longtime member at RIT, a personal mentor of mine. I wouldn't still be here in Henrietta if it wasn't for Barry's multiple interventions. And Barry also he's the person who, while at RIT, he created the Ombudsman program. He created a computerized information system for students in the early 80s. He created the Imagine RIT Festival. And in the community, he was extremely dedicated to veterans. He started the Veterans Day breakfast at RIT, which has been going on for at least 10 years now. And he also led the efforts to create the Vietnam Memorial in Highland Park. So unfortunately, again, we lost Barry. He had just retired. We had a celebration for him. And thankfully, he was able to attend the breakfast on the 11th, but then passed away shortly thereafter. So he will be sorely missed. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 26, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I have the first resolution. It's number 25-340/2022. To recognize the achievement of Eagle Scout Ryan Holohan. Whereas Ryan Christopher Holohan has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in Boy Scout Troop 401. And whereas to achieve that rank, Ryan earned merit badges in 37 disciplines, including cooking and wilderness survival, which have led him to pursuing wilderness education in college and earning him a bronze, gold, and silver palm awards for his efforts. And whereas during his time in Scouts, Ryan held numerous positions within his troop, including den chief, quartermaster, assistant patrol leader, assistant senior patrol leader, and senior patrol leader. And whereas Ryan graduated this past spring from Rush Henrietta Senior High School as a member of the National Junior Honor Society, the National Honor Society, the German Honor Society, and the Henrietta Youth Hall of Fame, and is now attending SUNY Potsdam, pursuing a major in theater tech and a minor in wilderness education. And whereas for his Eagle project, Ryan built a walking bridge at Mendon Ponds on a portion of the West Esker Trail where it is often muddy, allowing hikers to enjoy the trail even during wet seasons. Therefore be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board joins the Henrietta Fire Company Number 1, sponsors of Troop 401, in recognizing the achievement and honor of Ryan Christopher Holohan in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout.
Seconded.
So, these are some of our favorite resolutions to read. Because anybody who says that there's any kind of decline in the youth today, we can point to these kids and say, what are you talking about? The accomplishments, the effort, the dedication that it takes to achieve this rank is astounding. Before the meeting, I was talking with the parents that, my son is going through this right now, and he's kind of hit a wall because life is interfering, right? He went and got a job. He went and bought a car. He joined the cross-country track team. He's doing a lot of other stuff. And so it's tough to finish those things up. And it takes a lot of work as well as a support system. So this is not just a congratulations to Ryan, but also a congratulations to his family and to all those in the troop who help him persevere and get it done, because it's an amazing amount of work. And then, when you hear some of the additional stuff they've done above and beyond what it takes to get the Eagle Scout, it's truly astounding. So again, hats off to Ryan and his entire support team.
Behind every good Eagle Scout, there's great parents too. So could I present this to the parents?
Mhm. I'll grab a picture.
Come on up.
Get a picture of it.
Go ahead and take one with just Rick, and I'll try.
We had one.
Yeah.
He's part of our team, but yeah, Ryan Hirsch.
Thank you. I forgot to ask, or maybe it might be in the email. When is the Court of Honor? Sometime in December. If you send me the date, I'll circulate it to town board so any town board members can show up, because we do like to also present it there. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, do we want to roll call?
Oh, yeah, well, we still have to do the roll call. I forgot. That's why I should try to do the roll call before that. Any further comments? Anything from the public? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So all of our signatures appearing on the document, that doesn't count for roll. We still have to call it. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-342, 2022 to recognize years of service for fireman Robert Chichester. Whereas Robert Chichester has served in the Henrietta Fire District for 51 years, and whereas Robert started volunteering for the fire district on May 9th, 1972, and during his time of service has held the position of vice president and has been a member of the board of directors for the company. And whereas Robert continues to serve currently as an exterior firefighter / fire police in the Henrietta Fire District, assigned to Henrietta Fire Company Number 1 at Station Number 1 in the East Henrietta Road Hamlet. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board joins the Henrietta Fire District in recognizing the dedication, contributions, achievement, and honor of Robert Chichester for his 51 years of service to the Henrietta Fire District and the people and businesses of the town of Henrietta, and thanks his family for sharing Robert's time with our town.
Second. So the fire district is going to be having a celebration and honoring two of their firefighters who coincidentally both joined in 1972. So Robert's the first one, and I'll have the honor of reading the second one. So we decided as a town to pass a resolution recognizing them as well, because obviously they greatly serve the community of Henrietta. It's just astounding to put in that amount of service for 51 years. Hats off to them. I'm not gonna have many hats on tonight. Anyone else?
Congratulations. It's just amazing the amount of years that you've put in, and I'm sure, you know, your family has given up time to have you be such a support to the town, and we're just so grateful for all that you've done.
There's not many jobs when you're on call 7/24, middle of the night, vacations, your child's birthday party. Whew, they have to answer the bell, and it's great service to our community.
Anything from the public? And hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranic,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-343, 2022. Whereas Dean Chuck Marshall has served in the Henrietta Fire District for 51 years. And whereas Chuck started volunteering for the fire district on October 2nd, 1972, and has held many positions within the district, including commissioner, assistant chief, and district chief. And whereas Chuck continues to serve currently as a battalion chief in the Henrietta Fire District, assigned to Henrietta Fire Company number 1 at station number 1 in the East Henrietta Hamlet. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board joins the Henrietta Fire District in recognizing the dedication, contributions, achievement, and honor of Dean Chuck Marshall for his 51 years of service to the town's fire district and the people and businesses of the town of Henrietta. And thanks his family for sharing Chuck's time with our town.
Second.
So I will also add that Chuck has served many years at the town as well, in a number of roles, including at one point he was wearing 3 hats. He was our Commissioner of Public Works, our Superintendent of Highways, and our Safety Officer. And so I don't know how he found the time to do all those 3 jobs, let alone also be battalion chief at the fire company. So he's a lot better at time management than I am. I'll say that. You know, again, since he was wearing 3 hats, I'll take off my 3rd hat and say hats off to you, Chuck. Anyone else?
Yeah, just congratulations and thank you for, again, like Steve said, thank you for everything that you've done. I mean, I can't believe how much time you gave to the town and then you gave to the fire district as well. And we're truly going to miss your services here. I mean, I know you're still involved in some regard, but thank you for everything that you've done for the town. It's just incredibly appreciated.
Thank you to both of these gentlemen, Robert and Chuck. It's amazing to me that that many years of service throughout the town of Henrietta, and particularly thank you to Chuck for the dedication and passion that you have shown for all areas of Henrietta and throughout all these years.
Anything from the public? I agree. And hearing nothing further, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranic,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So first up, we have special use permit application number 2022-042 Starbucks at 1000 Highland Drive to repurpose a portion of the former Uno Pizzeria building to operate a restaurant with sit-down and takeout meal service, outdoor seating, and a drive-through with an option to serve alcohol and have live music in the future. Planned hours of operation are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I will note that and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not that this is a new style of Starbucks that's going to be serving alcohol and having live music. It's that the other half of the facility would have the alcohol and live music. Is that correct?
That is the case, Mr. Supervisor.
Otherwise, I might actually go to a Starbucks.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not- I'm not
I'll
a
also
coffee
discuss
drinker.
that momentarily. We'll discuss all of that.
Please introduce yourself and tell us
Thank
your
you.
relationship to the project.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Jerry Goldman. I'm the attorney and agent for the Real McKeever LLC, who is the owner of the J. Scuddy Plaza South, as well as Starbucks as a tenant has authorized us to make application for a special permit to allow a Starbucks location in half of the Pizzeria Uno building. I don't know if this microphone is live or not.
Push and hold.
Right. It's not wanting to cooperate. I'll be able to do this without the plan. We're good. There you go. Got the magic.
Gotta read that.
We're good.
Oh, Alex. There you go.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Supervisor. For those of you that are familiar with J. Scuddy Plaza South, the Pizzeria Uno building was the building in the front, hasn't been occupied for quite a while. We are proposing to have the northern portion of that building be occupied by Starbucks and a proposed tenant in the second location to the south. I should introduce with us tonight our Greg Kimber from the Real McKeever LLC, an affiliate of Scuddy Enterprises, who is the project sponsor, as well as Evan Gaffel, who is the project engineer. Up until about a year ago, we didn't need a special permit. The town made the wise decision to require special permits for restaurant type uses in the planned commercial district. I think the orientation at that time was mostly concerned about the planned commercial districts, which were closer to residential neighborhoods, not as much as the ones that are in the core of our business district. One of the main motivations, we believe, for the Starbucks location is, of course, the orthopedic center across the street. And that's one of the reasons why we're asking for 24-hour operation, because frankly, we don't know exactly what their shifts are going to be and everything else. So that may or may not occur. In addition to that, as you know, under your code, you have to list all the potential iterations for restaurants, including drive-through, including outdoor seating, including alcohol, as the supervisor pointed out. We, frankly, want to have the flexibility if Starbucks decides to go Irish and move Irish coffee, that we're prepared to go along and deal with that. This application does have to go to the planning board, so we will be going to the planning board and having them taking a look at this as well. We have taken a look at it in the context of the plaza, designed the drive-through to allow for maximum queuing in this area. And that is something which we expect would be a topic of discussion with the planning board as well. Our application does address the special permit standards, so I don't have to go and put them on the record, but we have addressed all those standards and believe that we are that we're in conjunction with them in terms of getting a special permit. With that, we'll stop our presentation and be available to answer any questions that the board may have.
So your assumptions are generally correct. It's where the planned commercial district is adjacent to residential, and it primarily has to do with, some of the 24/7 operations, which is one of the new subtypes of this, or the restaurant, special use permit.
Correct.
In this regards, basically what you're asking for is essentially what used to be there
Yeah.
at one point. So, I'm fine with that. When I look at the site, one of the issues I look at is that the queuing, I have some problems with the queuing path.
Mhm.
A couple of them, one, that seems like an awfully tight turn. I think you're gonna lose a lot of the space because drivers generally don't drive like they do on the civil engineering maps. Especially when it comes to the merged lane of the two there.
Yes.
The second thing is, if there's any spillover right now, it's into the main, I'll call it crossroads through the parking lots. One of my questions is, could you look at rerouting that path so that it essentially follows the road and then empties out into your own parking, or the entrances from your own parking lot. So that way, if it spills over, it's affecting Starbucks parking and not the rest of the plaza. The only issue with that is I don't know where you would move the dumpster enclosure.
Yeah, this plan is one that we have worked over and over and over again, and we have talked to Starbucks a lot about it in terms of design. They have certain criteria with regard to queuing. That's why we have the double stack, if you will, at the beginning over here. And this is something that they have done and something that they feel comfortable with and have done successfully. In terms of the additional queuing, there is some additional space. We could show some cars before we infringe on the plaza itself. The one nice thing about this portion of the site is that it really is somewhat segregated, being to the west of the ring road. But again, I do understand your concern. We believe that this is the best we can work with Starbucks at this point on it. If it's something that you want the planning board to take a look at as part of the site plan approval, that would be an appropriate condition for the board to put on the special permit.
Well, thanks for your permission, Jerry.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Supervisor.
In terms of, like I said, we went through this with Chick-fil-A. Now there it was even worse because it's potentially spilling out onto a major road. But I understand that they have certain things they want to see, but so do we.
No.
And so, I guess I don't have a problem with the double stack. I'm just saying it's a very short double stack. And I'm wondering if you straighten that out some, again, if it started down where the words, you see where it says stop sign and it's pointing. Yeah.
Down here.
Right. So if the entrance came in there and it kind of went straight up. Now, like I said, the only issue I see is I don't know where you would move the dumpster to, but you could continue potentially continue the double lane a little bit longer. I don't know. It takes some of the wrinkle out of it. Now, maybe you're trying to put that wrinkle in to try to extend the queue length. Although it seems you could achieve the same thing by being able to extend the double lane length, but.
Yeah, so Evan Gaffel with Costage Engineering. So we have looked at that. That's actually how we started. I'm going to go back through this design quickly, and the radius is basically what Starbucks requires. We've ran the turning movements. This one actually works well with. There's the bypass lane on this turn, so there is some flexibility. I know there's been some really tight ones with just a single lane and you're rubbing the curb. As far as the dumpster enclosure, talking this through and some of the comments that we received, I believe we can turn that dumpster internally to relieve that issue on that outer road. I could adjust the sidewalk here and get the dumpster in there. I've already looked at that. As far as the alternative site design, When it comes down here, we get the same radius. And then the order board is 7 back. That's only allowing for 2 queues beyond that order board before we either get into the ring road or we start cutting across. Issue we see, and this is all stuff that we could work through definitely to come up with a plan that works well for everybody. Is how this traffic or this movement across north-south works. That is forcing everybody to come in at the intersection on the south to line up on the bottom, which then blocks part of the drive aisle, and then potentially blocking the exit out of the drive-through.
Correct. The dumpster would be out of there and it would be, the idea was you could start at that lower corner and go, get maybe 8 cars into the double lane
Okay.
before you get to the message board. But I don't know Starbucks distances, but that was the thought is, so instead of an S shape, I've just got the
Yep.
single curve.
Yeah, I see that now. Yep. Moving that
Now,
dumpster.
I do understand, that gets into, I mean, conceivably, people would either come in that way or they'd go around and enter the queue from the north, but, like I said, right now, I just don't see how those cars aren't going to be spilling out and blocking that through road. I find it now, granted, there's a lot of Starbucks in the area. But they certainly seem quite busy. In fact, I think the one right down at the end of the road here is one of the busiest Starbucks in the region. So maybe even, I don't know.
This dumpster and kind of work it this way.
Right.
I'm sorry, we can't hear.
I'm sorry. If we can move the dumpster from its present location and essentially straighten out,
Right.
which would provide some additional queuing in that area. I think that accomplishes what
Right.
we're talking about.
I think so too.
So we're good. We're good with that.
Yeah, and I do see that could potentially address this additional comment that I see from Kevin Wilson, the
Mhm.
Director of Building and Fire Prevention, about regarding the dumpster and the need for the truck that picks up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was able to connect with Kevin yesterday.
Good.
And we kind of talked through a lot of this,
Some of
which
these
was good.
ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're getting deliveries to Starbucks, where are those deliveries coming into? The back door?
I've seen them come through the front. I'm not sure exactly where they would come, but certainly we'd figure out a safe place for those deliveries to occur. They probably have to stage on the south side or the west side of the building.
Okay, they wouldn't be coming into the back door and then blocking the road back. there.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
They would stage down here.
Most of that, that ring road is mechanicals up access. Up in
Okay.
there.
I saw the icon up here disappear.
Do you have a tenant, potential tenant for the other side of the?
Not at this point.
I'm just writing out a condition for
Okay.
when I go to approve. Other questions from the town board? Any- Oh, go ahead.
Do you have, okay, I see you do have wheelchair accessible parking.
Yes.
And it is in a good location to actually cross safely.
We do have the striped walk.
And that, is that a crosswalk that's over there, close to the, no, over
This
on the
one,
other
this one.
side. Is that a sidewalk area over there to get past to buy? Okay.
Yeah, that's sidewalk up and then a bike rack
Mhm.
is there also.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the town board? Any questions from the public? Anything online? Okay. Well, they might have a question. Okay. I'm just finishing up the conditions that I would want to see on this. Yeah, there seems to be a Wi-Fi connectivity issue right now. Okay. I'm going to discuss the conditions I'm considering with the town board to see if there's anything more before we put forth a resolution. So the two conditions I'm considering is one, that the site plan approval include addressing the potential issue of the blocking of the crossroad, preferably by having the entrance to queuing be from their own parking lot. And Don, if you want to tailor these up beforehand, that's up to you. Otherwise, I'm good to go with them as is. That the site plan approval process include addressing the potential issue of the blocking of the crossroad, preferably by having the entrance to queuing be from their own parking lot. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to use a better word than blocking, but disrupting traffic of the crossroad.
We can't hear the conversation.
Only because I don't want to bind, I want to give reserve some discretion to the planning board about how they address that, maybe subject to site plan approval by the planning board, including addressing potential traffic backup onto the ring road.
Right.
Okay.
But I would like to just get in there that are, whether it's in that approval or just make sure, well, we have a member of the planning board here, so he can make sure it's addressed. That our preference, or my preference anyway, I don't know about the rest of the town board member, would be that entrance would be off of their own parking lot so as to reduce the risk of it spilling out onto the crossroad. But whether that's part of the resolution or whether it's just our comment to the planning board, I'm fine either way.
Okay.
As long as it's clear that it does have to be addressed. And then
Okay.
the second one is same thing, site plan approval process, address the Director of Building and Fire Prevention's comments regarding the dumpster enclosure.
Addressing building inspector comments regarding dumpster.
Enclosure. So I don't know if it should be concerns or comments, but
Okay.
and more specifically that it's off of the, again, same thing. When they're coming in, what the issue is, when they come in to empty this dumpster, they're going to be blocking the main road through the parking lot. That's the concern that the Director of Building and Fire Prevention raised. So I do think the site plan needs to address both those issues. But I'm okay. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I'm okay with leaving that up to the planning board to figure out how to solve it, but
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine with that.
So keep it a little more general then? Is that what you're saying? And then let the minutes
those
speak
two
for themselves?
conditions, but yeah, I'm fine with them. Again, I want to just let them know that, and if someone feels differently on this, let me know. I'd rather see the entrance to the queuing to be off of their own parking lot, not off of the crossroad there. Again, we've done that with other Starbucks. We've required that their queuing be internal to their entrance / parking area. So
So how about subject to site plan approval by planning board? including one, addressing potential traffic backup onto Plaza Ring Road, including considering locating queue entrance off of parking lot, and two, addressing building inspector comments regarding dumpster enclosure.
Perfect.
Okay.
And also for the record, the approval of the Starbucks side also includes the possibility of a restaurant with sit-down meals, takeout service, a drive-through,
Yeah.
possible alcohol and live music. I just want to make sure that's
Yeah.
included.
Wait, a drive-through on the other side as well?
No.
No,
No.
no, so
Just
it's,
the
they're just hitting all the,
Starbucks.
they're hitting
Okay.
all the check boxes
Gotcha,
that,
gotcha. Okay.
Also,
and so that would also be the late night operations and 24 operations. So basically, pretty much every checkbox in the restaurant special use permit is checked. What was I gonna bring up? I think that's it. Any other questions? Okay, then I'll put forth a resolution. Fellow board members. I have a resolution approving special use permit application number 2022-042 Starbucks 1000 Highland Drive to repurpose a portion of the former Pizzeria Uno building to operate a restaurant with sit-down and takeout meal service, outdoor seating, a drive-through, and with an option to serve alcohol and have live music in the future. Planned hours of operation are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don, could you read the conditions?
Yep. Subject to site plan approval by the planning board, including one, addressing potential traffic queue backup onto Plaza Ring Road, including considering locating queue entrance off of parking lot, and two, addressing building inspector comments regarding dumpster enclosure.
Second,
second,
any further discussion? Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranic,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
aye,
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. One thing I'll note, Jared, the other change we did is in the past, when a restaurant closed and a new restaurant came in outside this area, they used to have to come in for a new special use permit. Now the special use permit carries forward as long as the new use has all the boxes checked for whatever type of thing they're doing. So I figured. So again, here it makes sense. And, you know, like I said, the part of where this started was there was a restaurant that started as a restaurant, got approval as a restaurant, turned into a bar. And area residents had a problem with the noise. So that's one of the things we wanted to address going forward. So
Fully understand. Thank you
Okay.
very much, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Steve, hang on 2 seconds. I have the chair I'm sitting in.
She's got the little
Oh.
chair.
I have the little chair.
We have one of the chairs that the hydraulics slowly loses air. And so
Hmm.
Sorry.
Lisa's can barely see over the table. That's right. It's like when you went to the parent teacher meetings in yes, elementary school.
There you go. Oh my gosh, this is so much better.
Okay. And next up, we have special use permit application number 2022-046 Old as Gold Auction House. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. However, if there's anyone here who showed up to address a comment, provide a comment for that, you are free to do so. Seeing and hearing none, we will move on to special use permit application number 2022-047 Cosmic Experience, Phase 1 Rock LLC, 2199 East Henrietta Road, to operate an interactive and immersive art space. Do we have a representative from Cosmic Experience with us?
Yes, my name is Alan Schechter. I unfortunately cannot be there, but I am on the Zoom call.
Please give us an overview of what you're looking to do.
Cosmic Experience is an interactive art experience along the lines of a Meow Wolf, if you are familiar with that. or Wonder Spaces. They are spreading around the country. If anybody went to the Van Gogh experience, you may have learned a little bit about what an immersive art experience is, but Van Gogh is pretty much just projectors, and we are fully immersive beyond that. So as you enter the space, you will see a 50-foot flying saucer with a door down, and you have to pay to see what's inside a flying saucer. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay. In the lobby there, we have an art piece from Australia. It's called The Creature Choir. If you go to creaturechoir.com, you'll see it, but it's 12 floating heads that sing. So it's all things that people have in Rochester most likely have not seen before. And it will also be an educational experience and something for Rochester artists to participate in. We will have options for high school art classes to become part of the experience. So one town at a time can be represented. I'm open to questions. If you need more detail, I can do that.
So I'm trying to figure out precisely where you're going.
Next to
AutoZone, I think it's
Next to
AutoZone over there.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
Yes, the very south, the end cap unit next to AutoZone.
I guess I didn't know what Grunts was.
I think there used to be like a video place there
Gotcha.
years ago.
Yeah, I don't recognize either of the businesses on the end there. So, okay. Now I got it.
Yeah, Joelle is doing a great rebirth of the town center, and this will bring a lot of attention to town center and Henrietta.
And so then is this similar, in other words, so for instance, the Van Gogh experience, it's to see other artwork. This is, you know, how is it determined what is displayed, that type of stuff?
Well, so I'm the creative designer, and I have artists. For example, a small test version of this was done in Ithaca last year. They were called the Beyond Art Collective, and they had 10,000 people in 3 months come through, and they are moving their experience into our space. So they're getting about 1,200 feet. I have a group from Philadelphia taking about 1,500 feet. And as you move through the experience, you're going to see what these aliens have collected as they've traveled throughout the galaxies. And as an add-on experience, we will actually have some of the aliens that we've befriended, and you will have an experience with the aliens for a little extra fee.
So essentially this is, I'll call it a next generation art gallery.
Yes,
Accurate?
you can call that, sure. If you're familiar with Meow Wolf, if you're not, I'd recommend looking at Meow Wolf.
Help me. No.
And
I
you will love our
it's a
space.
Van Gogh experience.
So, yeah, Meow Wolf is probably the grandfather of what started this. There are now 4 of them across the country. And yeah, they get a couple thousand people per day through it because it's just that amazing. This is our phase 1. We do have ideas to expand this as this takes off. But
Right.
it's the way that's catching the country. These are popping up everywhere. And if I don't do this in Rochester, somebody else will eventually, I would imagine.
Sounds good.
So I
Um,
noticed by your application, you're applying to open up 4 days a week, correct?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday seems to be what happens in Rochester with things like Artisan Works or the escape rooms, things like that. I would love 7 days a week. I don't know if Rochester can support it, but that also allows us Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays to keep adding art because it will be ever growing and evolving as we go through our list of artists.
Do you have any plans to serve beverages, snacks, foods, anything like that?
Not offhand. The space next to us is empty, and if that is still open, we are actually planning the Cosmic Lounge, which can start as non-alcoholic. Again, drinks that people have not seen before. But initially, no, maybe 1 cooler of Snapples or something.
So if you are planning to prepare and or sell food, I don't think essentially what I'll call the equivalent of vending machine stuff counts, but you know, if you're gonna prepare food, if you're gonna have a bar and make drinks, that type of stuff, that would require, so your Cosmic Lounge would require a special use permit for a
Sure.
restaurant.
Yeah, that would be an entirely separate entity as a business, but that's years down the road. We need to get this up and running first.
Sounds good.
And we will have merchandise, magnets, shirts and such.
Right, that's a permitted use within a commercial zone without a special use permit, so you're okay there. The restaurant, if people wonder the reason for the difference is restaurants can tend to have a greater impact on their surrounding areas than a traditional store, which is why it's special use, because again, if there's and use Chick-fil-A as a perfect example, you probably saw what happened up in Greece where they just put it in a location that couldn't support it and it was blocking traffic to those neighborhoods and to the Ridge Road. So that's why. Now, granted, there's a lot of them that come in and they're no brainers for restaurants because they're minimal impact and the site supports them, but that's why there's a special use permit for that, whereas not for a merchandise store.
So.
Okay.
Why does this one qualify for a special use permit? I mean, this isn't going into a commercial.
I'm not 100% certain on that
Is
answer.
that because it's an art facility?
Because it's any other business.
And yeah, so it doesn't fall neatly into anything,
Gotcha.
any
That's right. Yeah, it
category.
doesn't- That's right. It
Yeah.
doesn't fall neatly into any other category.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm good. I've got my questions. Anyone else?
I'm all set.
no, I think that this, that plaza is a very tired plaza, and if this can fly there, I think that this could really help to rejuvenate it.
And they have been putting some money into the plaza, which is good to
Yes,
see.
it is
I
starting to
know
look
some
much
people are
better.
of the opinion, great, another car wash, but
It looks much better though.
it does, it's a lot better than an empty sea
Parking
of
lot, it was
asphalt.
terrible.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's something different.
Yeah.
It's new and different and it's exciting to have it come to Henrietta. So
Yeah, and I will
Mhm.
say the Van Gogh experience sure seemed to do very well while it was here, so.
And with
Absolutely.
RIT right down the street, I can imagine there could be some great attractions there.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Any questions from the public? Then hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the special use permit application number 2022-047 Cosmic Experience. Can I get a resolution to approve?
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I make a motion to approve special use permit application number 2022-047 Cosmic Experience. Phase 1 Rock LLC located at 2199 East Henrietta Road to operate an interactive and immersive art space.
seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner.
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations. We look forward. If you send an email to supervisor@henrietta.org, I can put you in touch with the Chamber of Commerce who can help with ribbon cutting, publicity, stuff like that.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Next up, we have a public hearing for the proposed establishment of extension number 13 to the Henrietta Lighting District for the Fairways of Riverton subdivision. So the developer is installing streetlights in that subdivision. And basically what we do is we create an extension to our lighting district and the electrical charges, all utility charges for that, for those lights are then charged to the houses within the district. I will note that doesn't include like the streets at the intersections. These are the, the neighborhood lights that you see up and down the street. So some neighborhoods like those lights, some neighborhoods do not. Any questions? Any comments? Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed establishment of extension number 13 to the Henrietta Lighting District for the Fairways of Riverton subdivision. Next up, we have a public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to expand the mixed-use redevelopment corridor overlay district. So, in 2019, we created the concept of mixed-use overlay districts. These are zoning districts that sit over the regular zoning map. So somebody can either build to the underlying zoning district or to the overlay zoning district. Their choice. They can do one or the other, but not both. The mixed-use redevelopment corridor was specifically with the goal of trying to help some of the older buildings redevelop into newer uses, especially from a mixed-use standpoint. And one of the things that has come up, anyone who was here during the pandemic knows that the Dome Arena was invaluable as a point of distribution and inoculation site. It's no secret that also due to the pandemic, the Dome Arena has been struggling to survive. And so one of the things in looking at it, we believe this to be an important resource for the town. And so we're looking at ways that additional ways that they might be able to redevelop the dome so as to keep it an asset for the town. The comprehensive land use plan of 2011 talked about that this area, they referred to it as town center. They wanted it to be mixed use. At the time, they didn't have town code to handle mixed use districts. And so what they did is they zoned some parcels as R215, which is multifamily residential. They rezoned some parcels as B1 commercial. They rezoned some parcels as B2 commercials. That's kind of how they handled it. And they just intermixed those. We're not looking to change that balance, but what we're looking to do is use the newer code and overlay the district onto that area so that, you know, again, hopefully it, I would hate to see the Dome Arena go away. So I will note that since we had this announced this hearing, we did receive a letter from the owners of the two parcels that are situated to the east and to the south of the library, asking if they could also be included in the expanded district. Those two parcels were also identified in that same comprehensive land use plan update as being part of that town center and being encouraged for mixed use. So I, for one, am willing to entertain that, but obviously that's a town board decision. We made I'll call it a informal policy of we don't typically resolve rezones on the night of the first public hearing. So either way, our plan is to keep the public hearing open until the next meeting and make the decision then. But the question will be whether we decide to amend the current proposal, the current local law to also include those two additional parcels. If we do, we would re-advertise, but still keep the public hearing open. So those are our options. First, before we get into whether we expand it or not, well, I guess we can do either one. So talk about whether you think this is a good idea, the initial expansion, and or whether it makes sense for the additional expansion. So open it up to comments from the board first.
I think it makes sense to add the two additional, but I would be more comfortable re-advertising and then continuing it.
Yeah,
I can't find a reason not to say that those other two parcels shouldn't be included.
yeah, right. So if we're changing it, we would re-advertise.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just my first shot.
Yep.
I agree with you, Rick.
Mhm.
And anyone, I assume everyone's good with the whole idea of expanding it to include the dome in the first place, so as to give some flexibility. It's the dome and the property immediately to the south, which is currently vacant. One of the advantages of that is that property, the property to the south of the dome actually includes an access out to East Henrietta Road that is across from, I think it's Valiant. And that would actually be a better exit
Yes.
location for Fair Avenue instead of the tight turn and coming out where it currently comes out near between the ice cream and the former Growmore. Because that location doesn't have as good visibility as the southern location. So if this could somehow be developed together as a project and bring Fair Avenue around there, I think it would be much better from a traffic standpoint. But again, that's ultimately going to be up to the developers, but it seems to me we ought to put in place what we can to enable the developers to work together and do that. So. Any other comments before I open it up to the public? Any comments from the public, including online? Coming up?
Lois. I have more questions than comments. Okay, so we're talking about the dome area. So we're leaving the dome building, but don't you need to have enough parking left over in order to use that dome like we do with other businesses?
That giant parking lot is part of that parcel.
That you're wanting to rezone to use for some other reason, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
It would allow, for instance, if the dome wanted to inject money, so they're part of a larger project that includes a hotel and apartments and retail space. It would be designed as potentially one large project or a couple projects that are integrated together. It doesn't, you wouldn't be able to, for instance, just take the parking lot, develop that as something else, leave the dome building behind, because you can't create something that then creates an issue. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So any plan that redevelops this would have to address adequate parking for the dome. And part of that, for instance, if you've been in the dome parking lot, it could really use some work. But again, the problem is that they don't have the revenues right now. And so if they could do something to, again, grow that, one of the things that would help for, one of the issues that they have for booking some more regional and beyond type acts is that there are no nearby hotels. So for instance, a development of a hotel on an adjacent parcel would actually help the dome survive.
Are the two parcels owned by the same person or no?
No, the Dome Arena is owned, I believe it's by FSI.
Obviously.
The parcel to the south, I believe, is owned by Iacculli. And the two parcels near the library, I believe, are Spalletta or possibly Spalletta and Morgan together. I'm not positive on all those ownerships, but those are who we generally talk to when
It
they're
looks like the thing went away.
looking at its plans.
Yeah.
The other parcels that are already in the redevelopment zone, the former Growmore parcel is in there. And then there's a parcel to the south. That one, I'm not positive who owns that. It might also be Iacculli.
So would they be looking to lease those parcels out and keep ownership of the land? Or are they talking about selling it with these new zonings?
That's totally up to the developers, the owners of those parcels. We're not addressing that. What the addition of the overlay zone, they can continue to build. No different. If we don't expand the zone, it doesn't change anything in terms of, in other words, whether the overlay zone is there or not, they can still build to their underlying zones as if we didn't do this expansion. What the expansion allows them to do is it allows some additional uses and specifically mixed use. So today on a property, I can have retail. In other words, I can have commercial, or I can have industrial, or I can have residential. I can't have a mix of them.
Okay,
A mixed use allows you to, so for instance, Park Point's a perfect example of that. On the first floor of the building is retail, restaurants, stores. Second through fourth are maybe fifth. I don't remember how many stories those particular ones are. The upper floors are residences. So that's an example of a mixed use that would not be allowed in a traditional commercial B1 zone because residences are not allowed.
and what are they zoned for now? Like,
I explained so the ones right on the road, they're commercial B1. The property back of the road is commercial B2. The zone, I believe, is B1, although I'm not positive on that one. The ones over on off of Calkins near the library, those are B1. This is from memory, so I might not be 100% correct. And then the apartment complex air parcels, which are largely built out, those were R2.
Residential R215.
Correct. Any other questions?
I'll save it. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Then hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to expand the mixed-use redevelopment overlay district, because we are going to re-advertise for a new public hearing with the new local law. So. And then finally, we have a public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to clarify rooftop solar energy systems and to include entries into the mixed use overlay use tables. So when we did that comprehensive land use update, we expanded some of the solar energy and we discussed all through it. If you read the update, as well as the GEIS, you'll see where it talks about commercial, residential rooftop and commercial rooftop. And actually, we did find there was an entry originally. I could not find the entry for commercial rooftop. It was in a different location.
It was called non-residential.
It was called non-residential. I didn't think of that name. So we switched them so that they're rooftop solar first, and then there's rooftop solar residential, rooftop solar. Do we do non-residential for the second? Yeah. So, but then in the uses in the districts, they weren't an allowed use, which they were supposed to be. So obviously in a commercial district and in an industrial district, non-residential rooftop was supposed to be allowed. Residential rooftop is much more limited. In a non-residential, you can essentially cover the whole roof with the solar arrays. In residential, you cannot. There is a limit to the maximum amount of rooftop you can cover. So we wanted to update that. And then in the mixed use overlay use tables, there was some entries missing in addition to the non-residential rooftop. The medium scale solar was not there. So originally there were I think small was 10,000 square feet or less and large was 10,000 or greater. We added well, it wasn't 10,000 or greater. It was 10,000 up to, it wasn't a very high limit. We took that high limit, made that the medium scale, and then the large scale solar was only in the rural residential areas and could go up to 25 acres. But those tables did not include all three entries. It still only had the two. And again, that was just an oversight. That work was started before I took office. They'd done a whole lot of work before I took office. We ramped it up and started meeting twice a month. When I took office, it was a very ambitious overhaul to address a number of issues, especially with regards to the proliferation of apartment complexes in industrial zones. And the problem with that was an allowed use in that area, but it was having a couple issues. One, it was using up a bunch of our prime industrial space for non-industrial use. And the second thing was, in many cases, the road system, the surrounding support system wasn't there for those apartment complexes. So that's part of what we addressed. But at the same time, we also addressed solar, we addressed mixed use, we addressed incentive zoning. It was quite an undertaking. So it's not surprising that there were a couple things we missed in the tables. Any questions, comments? And hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing for the proposed local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to clarify rooftop solar energy systems and include entries into the mixed use overlay tables. Can I get my fourth resolution?
You doing the personnel items before the bills payable?
Yes, the reason for that is we had one that was withdrawn,
Mm-hmm.
and rather than have to renumber everything at the last minute, I suggested we move that one up.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, we have resolution number 25-341, 2022 to hire personnel and make the attached changes.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-344, 2022 to authorize bills payable for November 3rd, 2022 through today, November 16th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-345/2022 to establish extension number 13 to the Henrietta Lighting Districts, which is the Fairways at Brighton.
Fairways at Riverton?
Riverton, yep.
What did I say?
Brighton.
I'm sorry. Riverton.
Are you done? Good.
Yes,
Seconded, sorry. It just, mine was longer than what you said.
I don't have it.
Well, yeah, so we got to get to that. I ran into the same
The
issue. right?
resolutions.
The-
Uh-huh.
Their computers have been having issues with
Do you want me to-
connectivity. Okay, any discussion? Obviously, we just had some during the public hearing. Then hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik.
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution 25-346, 2022 to call for a public hearing on a local law to amend the town code to revise language for poultry.
Seconded.
Very simply, there's two conflicting sections of code. One that's specifically for chickens, the other one that addresses all poultry. And they require two different procedures. So we're basically in the section that includes all the other animals that require you to get a special use permit. We're just going to exclude chicken from that. So pretty simple change, but have to go through the process. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-347, 2022 to call for a public hearing on a local law to amend the Henrietta zoning code to permit greater flexibility for accessibility for the disabled.
Second. So one of the things that happens right now, if your front porch comes right up to the edge of the setbacks, which that's often how developments are constructed. And let's say you unfortunately get into a car accident and are in a wheelchair, you actually need to go get a variance to put in a ramp. Now, our town often is, I'll say, lenient in terms of, okay, you have to put an emergency ramp in, they're not going to cite you for a town code violation, but rather than have to rely on leniency and good discretion of those officials, we'd rather update the code so that it addresses this and also allows the people, instead of putting in a temporary ramp, that in the event that it's a more permanent situation, they could put in a permanent ramp. So basically what it allows is that wheelchair ramps can extend into or beyond the setbacks in order to allow them to go in without having to go through the long process of a variance. So I will also say I'm not aware of any variance for a wheelchair ramp ever getting turned down. Now, maybe if somebody tried to do a ridiculous ramp out to the sidewalk, for instance. So again, it's one of these, we'd rather make the process simpler for people who need the accessibility. Hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-348, 2022 to authorize the buyback of streetlights from Rochester Gas and Electric.
Second.
So we had already committed to this, but we've got what we believe will be the final numbers. The way this system works is it goes to the Public Service Commission and they could actually adjust the numbers to some extent. I don't know that whether they generally do or don't. There also might be that it's going to come down some because there are some of these fixtures that have been inoperable for quite some time. So we're going to essentially try to get a credit for those. But the plan is to, again, buy back these from the utility companies, replace them with LED fixtures and maintain them ourselves. It will save a lot of money. In fact, this is part of a energy performance contract that we will be approving in the future that basically guarantees that there's no net cost to the town, that the cost to do those replacements, well, more accurately, the cost to finance those replacements is less than the annual savings from the utility costs. So, and if they're not, the company providing that guarantee makes up the difference. So, essentially at the end of the day, it's going to be net zero cost to the town. And eventually, once they're paid off, it will be a net return to the town because we'll be able to pocket those savings down the road. So questions, comments?
Yeah, where are we at with this process? Are we still looking to have NYSERDA review the?
Correct. So we've reached out to NYSERDA to review the energy performance contract. Don was also seeing if there are attorneys who have expertise in this realm because it's a very niche thing. But like I said, we're starting with NYSERDA because they might be able to recommend someone or if they look at it and say, oh yeah, this one's standard, but that's part of what's waiting on that, the final of the energy performance contract. In addition, there's a couple utilities or a couple lights that we're looking at as to whether it makes sense to convert them or not. So there might be a couple of these. Again, this number could go down if there's a couple of these that we basically say, you know what, RG&E, we're not interested in those lights. They're superfluous now. just go ahead and remove them and don't charge them for us anymore, but we won't replace them. So Craig's been assembling that list, and he and I are going to go through it, and we're actually going to bring it to a workshop just to go over to show you which ones that we're considering excluding. Some of them have to do with that. Like one of them is right next to a car dealership. You don't see any light from that because the car dealership just completely washes it out. So why are we paying for that fixture and the electricity to power it? It seems rather useless to us, but that's something we'd look at. And obviously if the car dealership ever went away, which I doubt will happen, we could put one in then. So, but that's an example of the ones we're looking at. So Craig, for those who don't know that, referring to Deputy Town Supervisor Craig Eckert, has worked on this tirelessly, and we've been going over this, trying to find as many ways to save money for the town as possible. So any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page.
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-349, 2022 to authorize a purchase offer for 5694 West Henrietta Road to purchase the land and improvements for establishment of Chapman's Corner Historic Park.
Second.
So for those unaware, and there'll be something in the town newsletter about this beginning of December. Henrietta residents Ann Stevens and Bill Shattuck approached the town about the concept of creating a historic park. They talked to the Historic Site Committee as well as the town board. And their intention was to purchase the parcel on the southeast corner of Erie Station Road and West Henrietta Road. It was the site of a former Chapman's Hotel, and more recently, the site of the Three Sisters Ice Cream Shack. So there's the shack as it appeared for many years. And basically what they've done, this is what it looked like when they purchased the land. It was quite dilapidated, and the lot was sitting empty. So they approached us about the concept where they would buy it. They would do a bunch of improvements. This shows that is that same ice cream stand rebuilt into a history pavilion. So basically inside there's going to be a bunch of placards. Next slide. So these particular mock-ups were 1/4 the size, but they're basically, they address the different, a bunch of the history of the West Henrietta Hamlet. Next slide. They're also building a little library, a little free library that's in the shape of the former Chapman Hotel. So that's going to also be located on the site. Next slide. To honor the former Three Sisters, they've had somebody design and construct in the front. You can see the bench with the ice cream cone motif, and in the back is a bike rack with the same motif. Next slide. Oh, that was the last slide? Okay.
That's the end. Yep.
Okay. And so the other stuff, I should have probably included the map in there, or the site plan. It includes a fountain. There'll be just well away from the road. The road being West Henrietta Road. It will be just a swing set and a slide, just so if families have kids with them, it gives the kids something to do so they're not running around like maniacs. Or at least if they're running around, it's controlled around the playset. There'll be a couple other things, again, celebrating the history of the area. And basically what they've approached the town about is we're selling it. They bought it and they want to sell it for essentially what they paid for it. But all the improvements, which to date, well, I guess I should say as of tomorrow, will be almost $108,000 worth of improvements. Those essentially are getting donated. They're not including that in their additional price. So they purchased it for $150,000. There was an additional $12,000 in closing costs, so it was about $162,000. They're offering it to the town for $160,000. So very generous of them. And I know the Historic Site Committee is very much excited about this. And now there's residents who are looking to see if there's some way to do something similar in the East Hamlet. I don't know that there is, but we will see what we can do. Questions, comments? I am going to recuse myself from this particular vote because I have been working with a developer to purchase and revitalize the what's the last name of it? Cartwright's Inn. Thank you. Not looking to make money on it, just trying to preserve a piece of history and get rid of what's currently an eyesore. So the person I've been working with does have an offer in, an accepted offer, and it's currently going through environmental reviews and structural reviews and things like that. But so hopefully we'll be able to announce soon that it is purchased and we can start revitalizing that. But because it's an adjacent property, it's not appropriate for me to vote on this particular purchase.
Well,
Any other questions?
No questions from me. I just a comment is just, we all visited the new park area and got to had the opportunity to tour it. It's clearly a work of passion on the part of the couple that has been working there, and it'll be an incredible piece of history for Henrietta.
Anything else? Anything from the public? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Abstain.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-350/2022 to authorize the advertisement of bids for the Middle Road Water Main Extension Project.
Seconded.
So this is one of the projects we are doing as part of the funding from ARPA, the portion of the ARPA funds that were for infrastructure improvements. These houses are in a industrial district and they're on wells. That is not a good combination, especially since there was at least one industrial spill in close proximity to these wells. So we think was our number one infrastructure project to get this off the ground. We will be creating a water district. They will be contributing towards the costs of this project, but the majority of the project's costs will be picked up by the ARPA funds that were again allocated for infrastructure. Any questions? Anything from the public? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner. Aye. Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca. I'm sorry, did he answer?
Aye.
Thank you. Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-351/2022 to authorize the town to solicit asbestos abatement quotes for the town of Henrietta new town court project.
Second. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-352, 2022 to accept the dedication of roadways for Foxfield subdivision, section 1.
Second.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward. They've installed the roads that this area is largely done. We're accepting dedication. I believe there's still some punch list items. Or is this section done? So Foxfield 1 has a few items left to be fixing gutters and then topping it. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner.
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-353, 2022 to accept the dedication of roadways for Foxfield subdivision, section 2.
Second.
So this one includes some roads that aren't quite as far along. But one of the reasons we're accepting dedication, the way the roads are laid out, it would be very difficult for our plows to stop plowing the section 1 and turn around and come back. It would be much easier if they loop around through section 2. So what we're doing is, as we've done with other stuff, we're basically holding the money. They will have to complete and fix the road. There's enough money that if they don't fix it, we would be able to fix it ourselves and using their money and essentially refund them anything that's left over. But the town had in the past been plowing roads that were to be dedicated but not finished yet. However, a ruling was brought to our attention, case law and opinion from the state comptroller that made it clear that that's not allowed. So we immediately stopped that practice and informed developers. And so they've been working and scrambling to get their roads to a state where we can accept dedication. And again, even if the top course isn't done, as long as the underneath course is done properly and or there's enough money for us to fix anything should it remain deficient. So that's what we've been doing. And this falls into that category. Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner.
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution number 25-354/2022 to accept the dedication of roadways and storm sewers for Becker Road.
Second.
So again, largely done. Does this one have any? Becker's all done. Okay, yeah.
Right.
We've been doing a bunch. I can't remember which ones are which. So
Right.
Becker, oh, this is one off Thruway Park. That's right. So yeah, this one is all done and ready to go. Any questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner.
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-355, 2022 to authorize and or ratify the following agreements executed between November 1st, 2022 and November 17th, 2022 for total not to exceed costs of $10,000 or less per agreement.
Second. So per our funding procedure, if it's below $10,000, it doesn't need to come in front of the town board for a resolution. Out of an abundance of caution, we've decided because it does involve a a contract or an agreement, even if some of them are questionable. There's some that, you know, you get into what defines an agreement versus a purchase order, you know, are the terms associated with that. So out of an preference for over authorizing versus leaving stuff off that we otherwise should have, we've decided that what we're going to start doing is for all these small contracts, we're going to list them here so they're part of the public record. Any questions, comments on any of these contracts? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-356, 2022. To authorize the supervisor to accept quotes from Mengel Metzger Bar and Company LLP for the 2022 town audits.
Second.
Unfortunately, their price went up a little bit more this year than it did previous year, but they're still our best option. Any questions, comments?
What prices haven't gone up?
Fine.
Right.
Fine.
Yours? I should.
Hearing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-357, 2022 to adopt the 2023 holiday schedules for the town facilities.
Second.
Any discussion? This one's pretty straightforward. As the holiday schedule's pretty much called out in the union contract. Hearing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution number 25-358/2022 to adopt the 2023 board schedules.
Seconded.
So you have those in front of you if you just want to do any last minute review. You know, we tried to work around holidays, work around known absences from board members, as well as work around the other boards. You're limited to where I can shift days because of some of those other board meetings. And we also indicated on this when were school holidays, since we have parents on the board, so. Any further comments, questions regarding the calendar? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-359, 2022 to reappoint Steve Lovey and Kishore Chauhan and appoint Loreni Motomorla and Carolina Estrada to the Ad hoc Diversity Committee.
Second. So like to welcome our new members, Loreni and Carolina, and
And the flag.
yeah, and the fly that just dropped out of the sky. And to thank Steve and Kishore for their continued efforts. Steve Lovey has been doing a phenomenal job getting this up off the ground. So very excited about the quality of applications we received, not only for this committee, but we were also interviewing members for the youth board today. The quality of our applicants has been phenomenal. So very excited about that.
Test.
Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-360, 2022 to declare item surplus materials from the finance department and the assessor's office.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-361, 2022 to authorize budget transfers and adjustments.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have the final resolution number 25-362/2022 to issue a negative declaration and adopt local law number 21 of 2022 to amend the town of Henrietta zoning code to clarify rooftop solar energy systems and to include entries into mixed-use overlay use tables.
Seconded.
Any further discussion beyond the public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Do we have any additional public comments from the public? Seeing and hearing none, do we have any committee or miscellaneous reports from the board?
Okay, see, I get to talk now. I got a break through all they like missed my name. Did you notice that?
Lisa didn't get to read anything.
I didn't have any, I didn't have to read
She
any
had, like,
resolutions. They
first
missed me.
one.
She had a couple early on and then, yeah. Don't
Um,
worry, we'll fix that next meeting.
Oh, yeah, I was afraid of that. You'll probably give me the hard names next time. Library, just a reminder that the library is going to be closing Wednesday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. They'll be closed Thanksgiving and they'll be closed on Friday, but they're open Saturday for regular hours starting at 10 a.m. And then you can register online on November 29th. There's going to be an internet safety course from 10:30 to 11:30 at the library. That's it. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. That's all I got.
Yes, sir.
Me?
I attended the school board meeting last night. I sort of attended. They went into an executive session at 6 o'clock at night and I left at 8 o'clock at night. They were still in it. And I don't know what the result was. I think it's regarding the application process for the new superintendent. I attended the CHS Healthcare Board of Directors meeting, and at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll attend the Community Health and Safety Coalition, which is something that I've been doing for about 25 years.
Great.
Anybody else?
Yeah, there's quite a bit actually from both the youth board and from Parks and Rec. First of all, Make a Difference Day was a huge success. The total volume of items that were collected for veterans, the soup kits that were delivered was really impressive. They hosted Multicultural Night on November 8th at Sherman Elementary School. Great event, not as well attended as previous years, likely because it was in the middle of the week. They're planning to move it back to a weekend next year. Everyone is looking forward to Holiday Lights and Magic coming up on December 10th. And I can tell you, if you can imagine it, it's going to be there. A band, a Santa sing-along, the North Paw Dog Rescue and Pet Adoption, cookie decorating, carnival games, vendors, a scavenger hunt, and the RH Singers. Mr. Supervisor, I think you and Santa will be lighting the tree. Is that correct?
That's the rumors.
All right. Looking forward to that.
Our own little elf.
That's right. You can argue which one of us is mythical.
Registration for winter recreation programs is coming up. Event brochure is going to be out before the end of November and registration starts on December 5th. Henrietta Youth Hall of Fame nomination forms have gone out electronically to a lot of people. They also are available on the town website as well. Deadline for applications is January 20th, and the ceremony this year is on April 23rd, 2023. And the youth board talked about what their focus for 2023 was going to be on Monday night. And I was very impressed. They want to focus on voter registration, especially making people aware that you can register to vote as soon as you're in 21. Councilman Safranek, your daughter took the lead on that one. She was.
I think you mean 17,
What did I say?
21.
Did I? Oh, my goodness.
Crossing the drinking age
Oh,
with
my
the voting
goodness.
age, right? We don't want to do that.
Make sure that doesn't make it into the final notes there. I might lose my social studies job over that. And in addition, there are 2 open adult youth board positions. We get a chance to interview 2 applicants today. They were really high quality candidates, that's for sure.
Anything else? As I said, I've been working on the newsletter this past week. Expected to be out. So to get to the printers, either get to the printers probably Monday, and then hopefully it'll be out the first weekend in December, so. Anything else?
Think we're good.
Hearing and seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Seconded.
Hearing no objections, meeting adjourned.
Right.
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
A lot of volume there.
This is the